Hi everyone, I'm April, and you're watching The Tangled Cat Speaks, and this is a book edition. Aggie says hi or something. She's being very vocal tonight. So, it is December 1st, 2025. It is dark outside. It is cold. No snow yet. But let's talk about some books that I read in November, and then we'll talk about the books that I'm planning to read now in December. So let's start with this one. This is The Lost Tomb by Kent R. Weeks, PhD. It says, this is his incredible story of K5 and its excavation. So K5 is what they labeled one of the tombs found kind of near where Ramses II is buried or entombed or whatever you want to call it. And they didn't know the extent of all of these different tombs, and they assumed that they had something to do with the sons of Ramses II. And they didn't know what they had when they first went in because they thought it was just the one chamber. And it turns out it was a lot more than that. And I had so much fun with this book. I was just enchanted the whole time. It is a nonfiction book because November was my nonfiction month. And let's see, I'm trying to see when it was written, 1998. And he was there in the late 80s, I think, in Egypt. And I love how this book is written. It is very digestible, very accessible. It's not dry. It's not long-winded. It kind of jumps from informative to kind of, memoirish. There were some funny things, some exciting things. And then, just because my mind is the way that it is, in October, I had read a whole bunch of vampire stuff. And so when they're talking about the darkness in some of these tombs and passageways, my mind kept going to, oh my gosh. Oh, and they were talking about bats a lot in these tombs, and my mind just kept going to, oh my God, they're going to run into a vampire. I wasn't even thinking like mummies. I was thinking there's going to be a vampire because they were talking about bats, and that's where my brain went. So I was actually a little on edge reading it because I just kept freaking myself out. But this was a really, really good book. I'm glad that I found it. This was one that I got from a little free library. Most of my books are from little free libraries. And I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. Whatever. If I don't like it, then I don't have to finish it. But I ended up really, really enjoying this. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, so I was really, really happy that this one was as enjoyable for me as it was. So, yay. My next book that is nonfiction is a memoir, and this is by Ta-Nehisi Coates, Between the World and Me. Now this one, he is a black man. I can't remember what city. Does it say it in here on the back? I can't remember. Chicago. And he is older, and it's like it's written as a letter or a note or some sort of communication to his son. And he talks a lot about how he grew up and what that meant being a black young man, a child, and into adulthood. And I think it's not very long. It's not very long at all. Not even 200 pages. Not even close to 200 pages. 150 something pages. This, I think, is a very important read. I think everybody should read this one. It's he's got a very poetic way of delivering his message. And for the most part, his message is how vulnerable and easily broken the Black body is. And he talks a lot about, being abused by strangers because of his color. But he also talks about how parents would, by way of disciplining their children, be very violent. They would beat them and make sure that they are being extra good because the Black child had to be better than every other child, because they were always going to get accused of doing something wrong. So if they were accused of doing anything even minor, the parents were going to punish them physically. So he was constantly battling the fragility of his Black body. And not that the parents were doing it out of malice. It was more, I'm doing this so that you understand you need to be good. You need to be better so that strangers don't hurt you. It's hard for my mind to accept that. And it's very sad. It's a very insightful read. And I think it is very, very, very important, this book. I think that everybody should read this. I'm just at a loss for words, honestly, but it's hard to even say that I enjoyed it because I didn't. But I was moved by it. And I think that it really, really, really needs to be his point of view of his life and how it relates to other Black children and how he's trying to relate it to his son. And like I said, he's got a very lyrical way, a poetic way of delivering this that makes it just painfully beautiful. I don't even know what more to say about it other than I think that everybody needs to read this. Between the World and Me. I'm having an inner conflict with myself because I don't know if I want to keep this book because it was so good, or if I want to put it in the little free library and let someone else experience this. And I think more than likely that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the little free library and then maybe get this on Kindle so that I still have a copy of it. But I think that I'm going to let other people experience this because it's an important book. Those are the physical books that I finished. So let's talk about audiobooks. I went through quite a few audiobooks in November. So one of them is called The Hounding by Zenobi Purvis. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name or their name. But this is a story about 5 young girls who are being raised by their grandfather. And for whatever reason, these little girls, they're just odd. They're odd, but of course, the surrounding town, all townspeople are just, oh no, they're witches. There's something creepy or evil about them. And one day, a boy sees them in a field and he can hear them, and he's like obsessed. You know how I don't know, I guess he's just obsessed because everybody's always talking about how horrible these young girls are, but he sees them and they just seem to be playing, but they seem to be sneaking off somewhere in the night. And so he's following, he's just curious and wants to know more about them. And they go into these bushes or through these bushes, and then out the other end comes these dogs. And in his mind, oh no, they transformed into dogs. So he tells everybody what he thinks he saw. And so now everybody is just, oh no, my chickens were killed. It must have been the girls. They turned into dogs and got a hold of my chickens, stuff like that. So these girls are just tormented. It's a very interesting book. I thought it was going to be more supernatural or maybe even horror, but it's really just a witch hunt. These poor girls are just traumatized because these people just are so close-minded at anybody who's any kind of different. So again, a very interesting, fun. It's fun in its way because it's just like, oh my God, I cannot believe these people. But it does also have that dark twist to it, like the Salem witch trials and that kind of thing. You know, well, first of all they're female. Second of all, they're just a little weird. I mean, they're 5 girls being raised by an old man. They're going to be a little bit weird, but nobody takes that into account. Yeah, it's a good book. I really had a lot of fun, and it's not very long, so I kind of just blasted through that one real fast. Another book that I read is called The Berry Pickers, and this is by Amanda Peters. Now this one is about a family. This is in the 1960s, Maine, and this family, they're indigenous family. It's Micmac. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's their tribe, and they pick blueberries and do a lot of labor type work. And there's a lot of stories about how young girls are just going missing, and one day, sure enough, one of their daughters goes missing, and she's really young, maybe 4 or 5 years old, and they spend the rest of their lives trying to find out what happened to this girl, what happened to their daughter or their sister. And one particular boy, he's the older brother, and he blames himself. And so so we see a lot of him, and it goes through from, I think it's like a span of almost 50 years. And you do see mostly the brother's point of view, because he just beats himself up for not being a better brother and not having taken care of his little sister better. And then you do see a point of view of a girl who is adopted or had been adopted. She knows that she's adopted, but there ends up being a twist to her adoption. I'm not going to say much more about that, but it is a very, very good story, very compelling. You just want to know more, and you want to know how these all kind of intersect. So again, that's The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peters. Then, excuse me, my nose is itching. I listened to 3 books by Betty Hechtman. One is the number 10 book in the Yarn Retreat series that she has. And I think that's the most current book in that series. It's called Not Dead Again, and I'll put it up here. And it's a cozy mystery. This protagonist, again, amateur sleuth type things. She is a baker in a smallish town, and then she also does crochet retreats at this inn that's nearby to where she lives. And in this particular book, she's stuck with people who came to that retreat, as well as a few other retreats going on at the same weekend in the same inn, but they're all kind of stranded there because there was some heavy torrential rain, and now nobody could get through, and of course there's a death, and she's stuck figuring it out on her own. So cozy mystery, very fun to listen to. I had a really good time with that one. The other 2 books that I listened to by Betty Hechtman were from a different series, also cozy mystery. These ones are the crochet mystery book 15 was Killer Hooks, and book 16 is Murder by the Hook. And again, cozy mystery, amateur sleuth. The protagonist in this series is a events coordinator in a bookstore, and they also have a crochet group that meets there at the bookstore. And of course, she finds herself involved in murder mysteries, and for the most part, I've been enjoying this series, but these last 2 books, I just don't know that I want to continue with it, because there is one particular character that I cannot stand. She's part of the friend group, part of the crochet group, and she's just annoying. I very much dislike this character, and I keep wishing that maybe she moves away and she doesn't show up in the next books, but I don't know. I didn't have as good a time with those 2 books as I wanted to, because that particular character, as the books go on, she just gets more and more annoying. So I don't know. So that was it for audiobooks. Ebook, I've slowly still been trying to get through the case files of Aldous Vescard, which I've been trying to get through for months. It's just, there's short stories, but I don't always have the time to just sit down and pull out my ebook, because I'm constantly wanting to get through all my physical books because I have so many of them. But yeah, that's what I read in November. What do I have planned for December? So because I keep coming up with themes that I want to use to help me get through some of my physical books, December is my month to read things set in wintertime or holidays, or there was another prompt I can't remember, but basically that cold, wintry, or Christmassy themed books. So what I have planned, my big one is this one. This one is set in a cold environment, not necessarily wintertime. That was the other prompt, cold environment. Cold environment. This is Abominable by Dan Simmons, and I believe this is about some people climbing Mount Everest. Says 1924. So Dan Simmons, what I've read of him has been either science fiction or horror. So I don't know where this one is going to fall. I don't know if this is going to be pure fiction or if it's going to be fiction with some real life historical places, times, people sprinkled in, or if this is an outright biographical type thing. So I'm excited to read this. I hope that I like it. I've enjoyed a lot of books by him, but there have been a couple that I'm like, oh, I could have done without that one. So he's hit or miss with me. So let's see. I have all his books though. Most of his books, I should say. Actually, right there, not on this tan shelf, but the black one right next to it. It's kind of hard to see. Anyways, I have a lot of his books, so I'm hoping that I enjoy this one. I kind of hope that there is some like an abominable snowman at the top of Mount Everest. We'll find out. Let's see. Another book that I want to read is called Snow Shadow. This is by Andre Norton. This is an old one. 1979. This one seems, just from reading the description on the back, seems like it's going to be like a gothic romance type of thing, you know, where there's a girl that goes to an estate of some sort. I think she's going to Northanger Abbey, and there's some weird things going on, murders and whatnot. So this reads back, the description reads like it's going to be a gothic romance style, or maybe a gothic mystery. I don't know if romance is going to be involved, but I don't know. Usually these covers you can kind of tell oh no, she looks so cold and scared in the big scary building. And then there's always this broody man who's she's afraid of, but then falls in love with him. Those are gothic mystery romance types things. So I think that's what this is going to be, which is going to be different because the only Andre Norton that I have read before have been short stories that were all science fiction. So we'll see how this one turns out. I do like gothic mystery romance type stuff. So we'll see. I'm excited to get to that one. Now, Christmas related, The Christmas Quilt by who? Thomas J. Davis. Let's see. This one says, a book of love, hope, and warmth. A tender account of a family in the mountains of North Georgia. So we'll see what this is. It's heartwarming. I don't know, that cabin looks a little run down. So maybe this is set a long time ago. I don't know. I don't really know much more about it other than this back thing. And I'm excited to see what it's about. It says heartwarming, so maybe I'm going to cry. I don't know. I hope not. I don't want to cry for Christmas. And speaking of Christmas, here's another book. Now this one is interesting. It's huge. It's very big. And it's a children's book. Not very long. Hardcover. But I got it because it just looks so beautiful. St. Nicholas and the Valley Beyond. A Christmas Legend by Ellen Kushner. It's very pretty. Like, this, I don't know. It's hard to see, I think, but like mountains are drawn there. And then I always like getting used books that have a note from the sender to the recipient kind of thing. I think it's very cool. But the thing that really drew me to this is this. It says playbill. And it's got this big fold out section of all the characters we're going to meet. Hi. All of all the characters that we're going to meet in this book. I think that's just really, really cool. But this is supposed to be the story of the legend of a boy named Nicholas who grows up to be Saint Nick, aka Santa Claus. I don't know if they're going to call him Santa Claus in this at all, because I think those were originally two different people and then they just kind of combined them, I think. But yeah, so this just looks pretty. That's why I had it. That's why I got it from one of the little free libraries. So I want to start it now because it's a short read and I can get it done fast. But I kind of want to save it for Christmas Eve. I don't know. I'm torn. What do you think? What are your thoughts about that? There are some other books that I might throw in here depending on time. I don't have a list of audiobooks that I want to get to, but I'm sure audiobooks are going to be a thing. So we shall see. That is all that I have going on, and all that I read in November. Let me know if you have any holiday or cold weather reading plans. I'd really love to hear about that. And I will see you again next time. Thank you for stopping by.